it's me, Alex, the stay-at-home reader, and right now what we're gonna do is recap my reads for Shorty September. Um, I was vlogging each of the books that I read throughout the month, but here they are, all in one place. So Nate and the boys are playing darts downstairs. I'm sure you can hear them. So if you hear like a constant smacking sound, it's the magnetic dart hitting the board, if it's picking up. I have a very noisy house. That's a reason why I prefer vlog style, and I don't tend to do sit down videos. I started my YouTube booktube channel during Vlogmas in last December. And then once Vlogmas was over, doing daily vlog style videos, I didn't really do well with sit down TBR recap videos, tags, or anything. I'm not very good at booktube, but reading vlogs is what I like to do. But here we are, sit down, recap. So the first book I read in September was The Epic of Gilgamesh, and this fulfilled the Bermuda Shorts prompt for a translated book. This is a story from ancient Mesopotamia. This is one of the oldest recorded stories on preserved clay tablets, and it's kind of I guess it's kind of mythology and hero story, and I have read this in high school and forgotten all about it really, and it was a lot of fun rereading this. It was surprising how much emotion and how much I was able to connect to the grief that was written throughout it for being an ancient story. Also very interesting to see how much of the story, which predates the Bible, there are similar story and story elements. So I find that fascinating, interesting, just to see how the hero's journey is kind of universal, is definitely universal. So that's something I would like to explore more, reading mythologies from different places and seeing how a lot of those kind of converge without meaning to. From there, I reread another high school assignment, and that is Beowulf. This is the oldest story written in English. But of course, that is Old English, completely different to the English we speak today. And this one now takes that ancient pagan story style and now blends it with Christianity. By the time it's written down, which is hundreds of years after the story has been shared and told over several hundred years, and then it's finally written down, and it's in that time when Christianity is being spread, so there was a lot of that element and praising God and that mixed in with this traditional Viking style story. From there, I figured, well, let's round it up and just go ahead and do Grendel, another one that was read in high school. This is the first monster Beowulf fights in this epic poem is Grendel. And so this is Grendel's story. And what's interesting is that it's Grendel before Beowulf, obviously, because Beowulf kills him right off the bat. But he is watching the establishment of the kingdom of Hrothgar, who was the king he's terrorizing in the epic poem. And so it kind of calls out the storytelling and the exaggeration and the rise of Christianity and the way those stories are told to give meaning to things, when he's like, I've been here the whole time and you guys are kind of full of shit. So that was fun. It was weird. I remember loving this in high school, and I guess I didn't realize how different it's written. The narrative tone is very satirical, sarcastic. It gets a little like existential, but kind of nihilistic. And then there's a dragon who just gets weirdly metaphysical and philosophical. So there's a lot going on in here, but it was really entertaining. Next, I read In a Lonely Place by Dorothy Hughes. Hold on. Let's rewind. I read Beowulf and fit it into the half and half shorts prompt, which is to read a book and then watch the movie. There is I think it was 2007 CGI version of Beowulf that I attempted to watch. And it was so bad that I could not finish it. But I'm counting it for the prompt because I made the effort. And I had already used Gilgamesh for the translation, so I couldn't use this again. This one I used for, hold on. Grendel, Shorty Shorts, which is a book from the 70s or 80s. This was 71. So that was that. Then for the Ripped Shorts, a slasher or murder mystery, is In a Lonely Place by Dorothy Hughes. This is from the Femme Fatales line from Feminist Press. This follows a serial strangler in the Los Angeles area, and you're in his head, but it's third person, but it's very close to this one character. And he's a sociopath, and just following the way his brain works was done so well. And it had me kind of wondering what is going on. Did he do this? Did he not do this the whole time? And then there's actually a movie for this one. So even though I didn't read this for the half and half shorts prompt, I watched the movie for this one. Movie was awful. Starring Humphrey Bogart. Absolutely terrible and strayed very much from the plot of the book. For the cargo shorts prompt to read a book to do with nature, I read O Pioneers by Willa Cather. And this takes place on the Nebraskan prairie. It's very short. Oh, my bookmark's still in it. Very short family saga. There's a big time jump, but it does that thing that I really like, in which you're following a family struggling, and then it jumps a few decades and you get to see how it all worked out for them. And this fit the prompt to read a book that had to do with nature, because living on the land and appreciating the land, loving the farm, lots of tree talk and sky talk, and just kind of being one with their environment is a big part of this one. Playsuit Shorts, a book you'll regret. I went on to read The Old Man and the Sea. It's a classic. old man goes fishing, catches a marlin, and then struggles for days to bring it in. This was a book I'll regret because I've never really been interested in reading Ernest Hemingway. And I thought maybe I don't know. I just didn't want to read it, but I kind of wanted to read it, obviously, because I did. And my regret ended up being in that I didn't hate it as much as I anticipated. And so I have to kind of rethink my stance. Decided, wasn't impressed really by the writing and Hemingway himself, but I enjoyed the story, so I'm not going to continue reading Hemingway. Then I was getting kind of like about the books I had on my TBR cart, so I went to the library, picked up this weird-ass book called Revenge of the Scapegoat, and this is about a woman who at 36 receives a package containing letters from her father that her father had actually given her when she was a teenager. And it talks the whole time about these being devastating and kind of causing like a mental breakdown. She also has an autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, so she was in like a flare-up of that, and she just had to kind of flee her life. And it was very artsy, weird, surreal, gross, but she processes feeling resented by her father, and that's brought up a lot of emotions for me. Did I say what prompt this was for? This was for Squirts. Mixes genres, or it doesn't really fit into a genre box. Yeah, because like I said, it was very surreal. Kind of all over the place. And I think ultimately I gave this somewhere like a 3.5 stars. I didn't really give stars to everything, but like this one I kind of plugged in to the Cawpile spreadsheet, and it kind of helped me see where I land on it, because this book kind of rocked me and I needed help processing it. Yeah. From there, I needed a palette cleanser, and so I moved on to the Boxer Short prompt, which is to read a comfort read. And so I picked this graphic novel up off my shelf. This is Fraggle Rock, Journey to the Everspring. Just really cute, visually stimulating, and purely nostalgic. So I enjoyed reading that quickly. Another library book was a Spindle Splintered. I always stumble on this title. Spindle Splintered. There's Owen doing round 2 of dinner, so he just finished finally. This I filled in for the Runway Fashion Shorts prompt, which is a book with a beautiful cover. And like I said in the vlog, there was a time when like this is the cover I 100% would have been attracted to. I've kind of evolved in my reading taste, but I had a lot of fun reading this. This was like a remixed fairy tale kind of story. It takes the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale and kind of just runs away with it. We have a modern day, like our world character who enters into like the Sleeping Beauty multiverse. And so if you think of Spider-Verse, how there's the same story told in different ways to follow the rules of their own universe, and yet it's the same kind of story. That's what was happening here, but with Sleeping Beauty. And once I finished that, I read the sequel, which now goes into the Snow White verse, A Mirror Mended. Same main character from the first one, now kind of slips into another fairy tale. And this was Emperor's New Shorts, an unreliable narrator. So this one I plugged into that prompt because the character in this refuses to acknowledge the harm she's doing in traveling between fairy tale universes and interrupting stories, and she doesn't want to hear it from anyone else. She's in denial about her own situation, and I needed to fill in that prompt. So, Emperor's New Shorts. Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. This was a modern classic, which is denim shorts. Should have read this in high school. I don't know how I got away with not. I think whatever year, sophomore, freshman year, that, you know, dystopian classics were like the theme. There was like one, I think, Handmaid's Tale that everyone had to read. And then you could pick from some other ones. And I did not pick this one. I really liked it. And in my head, I was playing the conversation around, you know, current situation of book banning gone out of control by conservatives in America today. They have a problem with basically any book. And so I was kind of reading into this, the message I wanted. And then upon finishing and reading the afterword and the interview with Ray Bradbury and listening to a podcast discuss the book, and then looking up Ray Bradbury's political stances, I realized there's like an anti-woke, anti-political correct tone that this book takes that I don't agree with at all. And I was pretty hopeful and optimistic that if Ray Bradbury were seeing what's happening today, he would clarify what he means, but I'm not so sure. So I liked the book, and I like Ray Bradbury's writing. But yeah, just keep in mind, I am all for woke. Absolutely, 100%. I don't get why that's a bad word. And then, finally, to wrap up Shorty September, I read this collection of stories by Kathleen Collins titled Whatever Happened to Interracial Love. I didn't have the best time reading this. I think there's something like 16 titles in this short story collection. I liked about 6 of them, and maybe 3 or 4 of them were like really, really good. And everything else, like, I just could not connect to. Didn't like the tone. Very detached, cold kind of feeling that I didn't find engaging. They couldn't really hold my attention very well. But as a piece of culture, I think it's important. We have a Black feminist, playwright, civil rights activist, filmmaker, poet, author, mother, lover, just a woman of her own definition, writing in the 60s and 70s. And so, like, that is a voice that needs to be amplified, and that is work that needs to be, like, in our literary canon. I didn't love all of it, but there were stories. The title story was really good. The first 2 stories, called Exteriors and Interiors, was really good. There's some male points of view stories that were also pretty interesting in how upsetting they were, but like, that's the point. So I did go back and reread a little bit and kind of gave myself more time with the stories after finishing my vlog. And that's where I decided, like, I didn't hate all of it. There were, like I said, like 6 out of the 16 stories that I actually liked. And the ones that I did like, I liked quite a bit. So this would probably be like a 3-ish star, like somewhere right in the middle rating for me if I were to give it stars. So I hope I didn't come off too negative in my reading vlog for my last day of Shorty September. And I hope that doesn't dissuade you from reading it if you were leaning towards it in the first place. But that's it. That was my experience with Shorty September. Had a blast. Coming to the end and then thinking back all the way here to Gilgamesh, I kind of couldn't believe that was only a month. It feels like forever ago. I remember reading this outside in the sun at the park. It was nice and warm. And then freezing at a kid's baseball game. With the book in my lap, not actually reading it. I finished when we got home, but still, from warm to that's September. And all right, spooky season next. Bye.